Dr. B. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good, good, good. It's good to
It
see you
it
and
is
everyone
indeed.
else.
It's good
Welcome
to see
back
you
to What
too.
About Remembering
I
Me,
know, new
where we
name,
are, I
new name,
know,
new name, new
rebranded, same
rebranded.
message.
Exactly. New intention, right? Because it's like, we were talking about, what about me? But yeah, we can say what about me, but there's this whole thing of concept of remembering, right? Recalling, reflecting that is so important that we wanted to make sure that we were intentional that folks were doing in terms of this journey.
So shout out to Dr. Carrioff, who was like, I really think you all should add remembering because if you really pay attention, it gives you the acronym WARM.
Yes.
And we want everybody to feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm going to pass it over to the new Dr. Valerie.
Well, and you say doctor, and I think about, if this ties into the whole topic that we're talking about today, and it's about goals and intentions, right? And we
Okay.
think about, oh my gosh, like there are so many things in life, especially when we're at this stage of life, that we think about, I really want to accomplish.
Hmm.
I really want to set my intention to really, get this thing done, get this milestone done, because we spend a lot of time, we're going to be talking about goals today. So if people will really figure that out. Some people like calling them goals, right? Some people are really
Hmm.
averse to the whole concept of goals because it's like, okay, I do this, I accomplish this. Now what it is that I want to do.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of the habits that we build in terms of building goals, all of the steps that we're moving towards as we build, towards accomplishing a goal, these are habits, right? These are lifelong habits, right? And
For
so if
sure.
these are the things, if we would have set the intention and said, I want to do this, or I'm trying to get this doctorate degree, right? If we would have set the intention, right after, grad school, for some people it works. But for me, it was like, no, a whole thing of I need to really change some habits. I really need
Hmm.
to change some habits that are not just going to be applicable to getting this doctoral degree or accomplishing anything in life. It's like, okay, if I know that there's something really hard that I want to achieve in life, or if there's really something hard that I need to persevere through, I need to really concentrate and hone in on changing some habits, big or small, but to really say, okay, this is the way, this is who I am now. This kind of defines who I am. So when I say I got this thing that's in front of me that I need to go ahead and do,
Hmm.
it falls into place because now these things are a part of me and they kind of define, they come a part of my characteristics, of who I am. So I want to take folks along this, this journey of saying, okay, some people like the term goals. Some people say, no, I really need to create some new habits. Some people just like to live in their head and just like live in a space of saying, I'm dreaming, right? I'm dreaming this, for myself, and I'm going to make this a reality. Okay, what a lot of our clients try to say now is like, I'm trying to manifest, you know, I'm trying to manifest this into my life. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can sit here and you can manifest, intent, all you want. But there's some steps, right? We know that there's some concrete steps to
Yes.
say, how do I get to A to B? Sometimes God, sometimes the universe will go ahead and bless us and be like, boom, wow, okay, where'd that come from? But most of the time, there's these steps, these habits, these things that we have to define about ourselves to say, how do we get to A to B? So, Dr. B, I want to use you as an example.
Go for it.
What is something like, you've been dreaming, for yourself, something that, or if you like the word goal or habit that you want to say, okay, this is where I'm trying to move towards, in this next phase of my life.
So, as you're saying, like, we have dreams. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was getting my master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say how long ago,
Mm-hmm.
while I was going through that program, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I want to have my own private practice. The
Mm-hmm.
whole time I was going through, I was like, I'm going to have my own private practice. I'm going to have a house with
Mm-hmm.
a pool house. Why was I even thinking like that? But I was like, I'm gonna have like a pool house where that's where I'm gonna do all of my therapy with my clients, and my child will be there with me in like a
Mm-hmm.
playpen. And I'm just gonna be like a stay-at-home mom, but I'm really working. That was my dream then.
Mm-hmm.
I did not need to be anybody's therapist. It wasn't nobody gonna pay me back then at 21. I didn't
Yeah.
know anything.
Oh, good.
Realistically, I did not know anything. And
Oh,
so as I've, you know, worked,
mhm,
I've done therapy in a prison
mhm,
with males.
mhm,
I've done therapy with
mhm,
teenage girls, which
mhm.
brought about just a whole
Yes.
difference
Yeah.
compared to
Mhm,
adult men who are incarcerated to
mhm.
teenage girls
Yeah.
and their families to
Mhm,
then where I was like, I really want to take a break from
mhm,
counseling
mhm,
to now be where I am now.
mhm,
I've got clients and then I'm also doing like mental health type stuff for
mhm,
the small kids, which is just social emotional. But then you've got to work with the parents. Whenever you
mhm.
got kids, you've
You
got the
gotta work
parents
with
too.
parents. Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I've begun to see, I'm like, wait a minute. Like
Mhm,
I was like, this was my dream. How long ago?
mhm,
And I think I'm getting to a place where what I was saying I wanted
mhm,
then
mhm,
can be something now. And so right now, that is my goal. It is my goal. I am doing what I can to transition into what I said I wanted
was
when I
going
was
to
going
do.
through my master's degree.
Exactly. So I'm hearing like these common themes too as well. When you created this goal, you were thinking about something that I really love to do. And it's like, okay,
Yes.
yes. So if it's we know the therapy piece is so holistic, right? So we can say, we work directly with counseling, I mean, with clients doing the therapy, doing the counseling, or we kind of work like in other roles, like we're running programs or supporting
Hmm.
other folks, who are doing this work. But it was this idea of saying something, what is it that I love to do? Something that were my talents, and that you hold space for people, be it in an administrative role or the one-on-one therapeutic role. This is something
Yes.
that where your talents, really shine. Like I can hold space, for people in doing this type of work. And what really gives you meaning? Like one, it gives you like financial meaning, right? Yes.
Yes.
That piece, it gives us the financial meaning, but actually seeing people like move forward, like really,
Hmm.
oh my gosh, working with, such a challenging population of, those who are incarcerated, because, sometimes their situation could seem so hopeless. Like, I'm here, but to provide hope, even in that type of, atmosphere, and even to say that, you might be re-entering into, your community, how can I best prepare you, for that? It's something that gives you meaning, and it gives, other folks that you're working with, meaning, too,
Hmm.
as well. And like I said, too, it's like something that that, oh my gosh, it's doing something that I love, but also something that we can possibly monetize. I think a lot of people, when they're creating goals too, as well, some of it is just for personal satisfaction. Like, I'm going to do this, for me.
Hmm.
But oh my gosh, if we can be in places that we can monetize what it is that we love, what it is that we do, to truly be in a place of, no, this is just not another 9 to 5. This
Right.
is just not some place where I have to clock in, I have to clock out. I can
Hmm.
really exercise my talents. I can really exercise, what it is that I put all this energy in. Big, and I went to a vocational school, I picked up a trade, or actually went to college, or if it was just some type of, God-given ability, some talent that I was born with. But those are usually things. So for folks who are having really trouble dreaming, like to say, like, I don't even know what I want to do, I don't even know where I want to begin. I'm thinking about a client that I met with, this week. And when I talk about really high performing individual, this woman, she is running managing a department in a really large company. And I mean, she's been there for a number of years, and so she's at this crossroad right now of, okay, I've been doing this for almost a decade, I feel like I'm stagnant, I know I should be moving forward. Like there's
Hmm.
this drive, this inertia in me to be moving forward. And I was like, okay, so what is it that you want to do next? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, pause. We need to take some time. You need to take some time and just to dream,
Hmm.
thinking about everything that reflecting on everything that you've done for the past 10 years. Where does that take you into the next, 10 years of this journey, professionally? And to say that, she put all her energy and effort into say, how can I fulfill this role to the best of my abilities? Now that we have done that, right, you fulfilled it to the best of your abilities, we're going to take a pause. Like, I really want you to take 2 weeks to really begin to open your mind to dream of a space, and no dream is really, like, oh, it's out there. Like, oh my gosh, like, no,
Mhm.
we can't do that. You know what skills you come with. And so when we think about what it is that you love to do, what are your talents? What really gives you meaning? And for her, this is something that, okay, yeah, I really want to bring this into a space and a place where I can begin to monetize and continue to earn a living to support myself and to support my family. To really just take a moment to pause and to dream. So if you don't have a dream, if you don't have a goal, now's your opportunity just to let that mind wander, be it through journaling, talking with a friend, talking with a colleague, just someone that you trust about all the things that you can possibly go, all the places you can go, and all the things that you can possibly do, with that dream, with that goal. All right. So that
Okay.
brings me to this. Okay. So I had my book list for this year, right? And I want to say a colleague gave me this book, Shamika, about like 2 years ago, like two, three, maybe 3 years ago. She gave me this book. She was like, I read this book. It was super great, Valerie. I really think you should read it. Why was I like changing offices, like, where I was working, and it was in a box.
Of course.
But it's Atomic Habits, right? And I
I've
was
never
like,
heard of that.
oh my gosh. So apparently, over 10 million people have. Over 10 million copies have been sold. It has been on the New York Times bestseller list. It is just this man, James Clear. And so I want to give people like a cheat sheet too. If you don't want to read the book, if you just want to Google podcast with James Clear, Atomic Habits, he kind of breaks down his formula in terms of saying that, yes, it is lovely to set goals. But like I was saying in the very beginning, really changing the intention, because a lot of these goals, a lot of the things that we got to think about in terms of being disciplined, in terms of, really, okay, these are what the baby steps look like
Mhm.
to accomplish these goals. These are really habits, that are a part of us, right? So when I read this, right, okay, I had already paid for to run a marathon in December, right? So one thing, okay, so I put my money towards it. So either way, I'm going to lose my money, and marathons are not, like a cheap little thing to do. So either I'm going to lose my money, right? Or I'm going to have to run this marathon, in December. And I would like to run this marathon, in December. So I'm thinking about, okay, running this marathon in December. It's like, okay, he walks us through like, you got to change your narrative, right? So now Shamika, I haven't run a marathon in, the last marathon I ran was probably a decade ago, almost a decade ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been some time since my last marathon, right? So now I'm referring to myself as like when I see people, when I'm in conversation, like, yeah, so what do you like to do for fun? Oh, I'm a marathon runner. I run marathons. So it's just changing my narrative of people like, oh yeah,
Oh
Valerie.
my gosh.
So
I know what you're talking about. Oh, you are speaking to me.
so when you think about yourself in this private practice, who are you? Not necessarily the position that you are. And I'm a clinician, I run a private practice. I'm a private practitioner. I'm a private
That's
practitioner.
what, oh my
Yeah.
God, I have started doing that. Like I've stopped talking about what I do right now is like
Mm-hmm.
my full-time gig that I
Yeah.
want to leave. Like I
Mm-hmm.
literally am like, no, I'm a therapist. I have my private practice. Like I just claim it.
Yes.
You are, oh, I'm already doing some of Atomic Habits.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're already doing those some atomic habits. And then also this thing too about when you think about, okay, and these are just the main highlights for me, but I encourage folks to read the book or hop on a podcast that this man has spoken on, too as well. But I would just encourage you, go ahead and just, read the book. So it's like how I define myself and knowing, okay, that Valerie, if you're a marathon runner, okay, then who am I hanging out with? When I'm
Mm.
doing my free time, who am I hanging out with? I'm hanging out with my running friends, right? We're going for a run together, or we're planning a run together. Or if I'm saying, okay, in my free time, rather than doing this run by myself, no, I'm with my other marathon, running folks too as well. But it's also associating yourself with folks who might have a little bit more knowledge, about this goal. So for me, it's like, okay, the women that I run with, they've been running marathons for years. I mean, Shanika, these are women in their 60s, in their 70s who will fly past me in a heartbeat, turn around and be like, hey, how are you doing? Long time no see. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this woman 70s, flying past me. But this is the motivation and this is the encouragement. And then, they'll check in and they'll be like, okay, well, what are you doing to, hydrate, during this run? What are you
Mm.
about? What are you trying? What did you eat today? Did you eat, just that simple check-in of having a shared common language with others who are doing the same thing, have the same intention, the same goals that I have, so to create a sense of community to keep me on the track that I need to be on. So I say this for folks too who are on another side of the spectrum, right? So for instance, I have colleagues and I have clients who are trying to quit smoking or quit vaping, right? So it's like, okay, now we really have to say, okay, I'm going to quit vaping. I'm going to quit smoking. Maybe I need to try something like a nicotine patch and nicotine gum. I'm having conversations, with my doctor. They've given me the tangible stuff, right, that can
Mhm.
help in terms of medications that help me stop. But when we're thinking about our breaks, right, are we hanging out with the smokers? Like, when we're taking our 15-minute breaks, are we
And
hanging
you
out with the
can't be
smoke?
with
No,
them.
girl, no, girl, you got to
It's
find
gonna
the
pull you back
non-smokers,
in.
that are going for a walk around the building, at 11 o'clock and 3:15. Those are your new people now. You are not, hanging out with the smokers. And if your typical thing was like, okay, yeah, I can usually go to this bar or I can really go to, this lounge, after work or on the weekends, but I know people might be using the hookah or they might be vaping or they might be, smoking. No, it's a whole new environment that we're putting, ourselves in.
Mhm.
If I'm going to chill here, I can't even vape here. I can't even smoke here. I can't even do this type of thing here. It is something completely different, that I have to involve myself with. So I want to say, yes, we're going to start calling ourselves, that, a lot of clients, I try to reframe it. No, you're not a smoker. I'm an ex-smoker, you know, or I that's not something that we're claiming that we're doing,
Mhm.
anymore. Or I'm on this pathway forward of this is not something that you could have done it 5 minutes ago. But now you're setting this intention again, like I'm on this pathway forward that this is something that I'm not embracing, I'm not doing. We're not claiming, oh yeah, we're not claiming that that piece of it, anymore. So like the two, I won't say not the too big, but two that I really want folks to hold on to as they begin to dream is begin to call yourself by your new name. And
Yes.
also to begin to find community around folks who are doing or embracing the lifestyle or what that goal, that dream that you have for yourself that you want to be. And so to be like really concrete, right? Too as well. So we might have like, okay, yes, I'm a marathon runner, and now I'm hanging out with my running group. But there might be some things, Shamika, that get in this pathway of saying, okay, yes, to be with my running group, it takes a whole lot. Like it takes a whole lot. It takes like the baby steps that we talk about, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to run 3 days a week and I've got like my miles mapped out of, how much I'm running every day a week. But that's not for me. Okay, this is what it means. If I'm going running on a Monday, Sunday night, okay, what has to happen? I literally have, sometimes this is so bad. Sometimes I gotta sleep in my running clothes. Like I gotta sleep in my tight,
Wow.
my
You
sports
gotta
bra. I
okay.
gotta sleep in my shirt. And so my socks. So when I wake up, I'm washing my face, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm putting on my sneakers, and I'm going out the door. Like literally.
Mm.
And who knows me better than me? If I say yes, I'm gonna lay my clothes out. Yeah, I'll just change in the morning. No, I'll smell the coffee brewing on the automatic timer, and then I will fall into the routine of what the morning, typically brings. But we know ourselves better than I know ourselves. So just to do that checking with who you are, like, come on, you.
Be
You know,
honest with
be
yourself.
honest with yourself. Like, like, oh my gosh. And this goes from, my friends. So say, for instance, okay, yeah, we're really trying to do something different. Like, we're not trying to vape. Now, if you walk by Nancy's office, at 11 o'clock, and Nancy vapes, okay, and Nancy sees you, and you guys make eye contact, and it's like, okay,
You need a
5
new
minutes.
route. If you
You
can
you are
avoid the route by Nancy's office.
you already know. So it's beginning to have this conversation of yourself. Okay, seriously, I know I got to set the alarm, right? Okay. Some people, they can just go ahead and turn off the alarm on their phone or turn off their manual alarm. But if your alarm needs to be in the living room where you need to actually get up, turn off your alarm so you can be up and you can be active. Really question yourself, what is it going to take for me to get out the door so I can really do the things that a runner does? And I think
Mhm.
about you, in your private practice. It could really have been just a concept in your mind. But like we think about what these baby steps are. And so we say, oh my gosh, I want to have a private practice. Well, first things first, like, oh my gosh, I got to come up with a name. Like, what am I going to call myself? What is my practice? Okay, so this is real. I'm going to have a private practice. I know I have to get it registered with the state. Like I know I have
Yes.
to go. I have to pay my money. I have to go ahead and type it in. Boom, I got it registered with the state. So it's these little baby steps. Okay, now that I've got it registered with the state, okay, now I got to go down to the bank and I got to open up a bank account. It's like, it's these little baby steps to say that in order to make this real, like there are little steps that go along the way in terms. And if you don't know, this is where it goes back to finding that community. If you can't even think of, oh my gosh, what are the baby steps that involved? Baby steps number one is our friend Google.
Google tells everything, or YouTube University.
And now we are so thankful to AI. Like we could just ask a Google or a, let me not, I woke her up. Oh no. Give her a second because she's going to start interpreting everything. Oh goodness. And if you don't even know, just thankful for technology, just to even begin to say, where do I even go to get a pathway forward? So I just want to recap a little bit. So we've got our dreams. We're thinking about how to dream, right? And then we're thinking about, okay, how the baby steps that come along with making what we want to make happen. But it's being honest, with yourself too. As you're creating these baby steps, really being honest with yourself of, okay, I know I really, my doctor said I need to lower my cholesterol. I've got this goal to lower my, not me personally, but if it was me, I need to lower my cholesterol. Okay, it starts at baby step number one. I got to throw out all the ice cream. I got to throw out all the ice cream. I got to throw out all the cheese. I got to throw out, yes, it might seem like or I need to give it away. If I'm not throwing it out, I'm going to give it to somebody else who could better, use it. But it starts with that being honest with myself, because if there is like a bunch of like real, cheddar cheese in my refrigerator, and I love cheese, that is not going to help me in terms of saying, okay, I really have this vision and this dream of me being the healthiest me, possible. So I need to get rid of what is here, even in my own house, to say, okay, these
and to add to that, like think about what you just said. Our dreams can't be, I'll start worrying about my cholesterol after I get rid of the ice cream because I've eaten it. Literally, our dreams, whatever it is we want to do, is the moment it comes to your mind. Because realistically, there is no perfect time.
There is none.
And so we just have to start.
Today.
You just have to do it. You just have to do it.
Just right now. So if you're listening to this and your doctor has told you need to lower your cholesterol, or, we need just to be more active. We live in such a sedentary lifestyle. Like I can seriously, there are days I can really sit at my desk for 8 hours straight because, if I'm doing reports or something like that, if my watch doesn't remind me, offer the gentle, and this is why I tell my watch to offer me these gentle reminders, it's time to stand up. It is really time to stand up. Being so sedentary is not helpful, to our health. To even say, okay, well, I know me, what is going to work best, for me. But you mentioned this, Shamika, because the ice cream might still be in the freezer. And it might be a really tough day, right? And I know that comfort can come from a bowl of, cookies and cream or butter. For some of us, some butter pecan, it can come for us in some type of form. Or I might say that, life is just lifing right now. And I need to go through the drive-through, pick up some Zaxby's, pick up some Chick-fil-A, knowing those are things that are not really going to get me to this goal of saying, okay, I'm going back to the doctor in 3 months. And my goal is to really be the healthiest version of myself. We know that with all successes, there comes some failures. And so within those failures, it's like, what are some things that you tell folks, like, oh my gosh, those affirmations to help remind people that, yes, we might have a setback, but you can still keep moving forward,
Got to give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace. That is the biggest thing. No one is out here doing things 100% at 100% of the time. And if they were, I would also be worried about them to say, why do you feel as if you need to give 100% of the time, where there is no, for those who are really aiming towards being that perfectionist, we know that there's a whole story that comes.
Oh, for sure.
There's a whole story that comes
that
with
sounds exhausting.
it does sound exhausting. So we give ourselves grace. You know, like the best thing I can tell like new parents is that, so I say like about, give me a percentage about what is the percentage you feel as if you're going to get this whole parenting thing right. And they're like 90%. You know, I'm going to be that 90% parent. I was like, okay, okay. I was like, realistically, right? And I just think about like with a newborn, if you can respond to a newborn just 70% of the time, you know, you're truly meeting that newborn's need. Like you don't have to go and you don't have to pick up. If you can just say, I hear you, I love you, I care about you, but I am taking a shower, you know, or I'm just
Hmm.
pouring myself some glass of water. If you can show up 70% of the time, right? I mean, that is to be realistic in who we are as people, who we are as, you know, oh my gosh, as a person, who we are as a parent, who we are as a friend. Because we can't be there 100% of the time showing up, even for our own offspring. For our own offspring. This is why we talk about community. And this is where it goes back, you know, to community, because we don't have to tag team these things alone by ourselves. Because if I'm doing it 70% of the time, my partner's doing it 70% of the time, grandma is doing it 70% of
That kid is good.
this child has overabundance of what it is that you know they need. And then we think about, you know, our failure point, like, okay, yeah, I might have had one bowl of ice cream, doctor, this month, or two bowls of ice cream in comparison to the 50, you know, that I typically eat. You know, I could have had, you know, 4 scoops. Usually I go through 4 cartons. And we think about what progress looks like, and we really
Hmm.
try to hone in and have realistic conversations with those in our community as to what does success look like. The greatest thing that, you know, I can tell those who are in recovery from substance misuse, right, is that relapse is a part of recovery. You know, like it's hurtful, it's sad, it is the truth that relapse is definitely a part of a recovery journey. And when we're thinking about treatment for those who are in recovery, we factor in all of that, and we factor in safeguards, and we factor in how can we be honest about what it is that we're experiencing, knowing that we don't have to meet the mark every single day,
Yes.
100%, you know, of the time. So when we think about failure, which is often like you're thinking about this, because I know people have been in their heads, they've been dreaming, they've been coming up with these lofty goals. But I also want people to think about like, okay, like I don't want you to set yourself up like, oh my gosh, like I'm just gonna fail at this. I'm not gonna, you know, be successful at this. But there will be missteps. But I also want you to hold just as big as you dreamed as
Yes.
to what I want. I want you to dream about, okay, if there is a misstep, what do I do to rebound? What do I do to get myself back on track?
Hmm.
And so check in with the feeling like, okay, this is what it meant to, you know, have this misstep or have this particular failure. What am I going to do to
Hmm.
get over this hurdle, get over this barrier to get to where I need to get to? What did I learn from it? Like, okay,
Yes, that's what
no,
I
I
was just
need,
thinking. There's growth that
there
comes
is
from the
so much
misstep.
growth. Nancy is not your friend. Nancy knows you were trying to quit vaping, but Nancy keeps on saying,
Oh, Nancy's going to show up.
because some people, and this goes back to this, sometimes we also need to move in silence. I talk about creating community, but
Hmm.
you create community around a trusted group of folks because sometimes you need to move in silence because unfortunately, there are sometimes people do not want to see you win. They don't want to see you progress because it's reflection on them like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything. I'm
And then
not.
they don't want to be left alone.
And they don't want to be left alone. Rather than say, oh my gosh, let me use you as an example where I can grow, and, you know, and I can become the best version of myself. They don't want to see, you know, you win, and they don't want to see you successful. So sometimes moving in silence can behoove you and making sure that you're selecting your community with some intention, you know, to, you know, as well. But I also want people to check in about how they felt about their failure. Like you, I mean, like Shamika, want I have a misstep. It's like, goodness, goodness, like that sucks. But there's like also the feeling of like, yeah, a little disappointment. Okay, okay, I feel the disappointment, but I also know what I need to do. The
Yes.
lessons
I know
learned.
what not to do to not do that again.
Exactly. And so we can hold on to those feelings. And sometimes those are the most challenging feelings, you know, to hold on to. It's like, okay, disappointment. I would never hope people go to a sense of feeling of guilt, you know, or shame, because those are the harder ones. We can definitely get ourselves, you know, from those particular feelings.
Hmm.
But just to know that, oh my gosh, this whole concept of grace, we're so easy to extend it to others. let's extend it, to ourselves to say, I recognize this for what this is, and there's still
Mhm.
opportunity for me to go ahead and move forward. So I talk about the failures and the successes, but I also talk about the barriers too as well, right? Because we know that, yes, we talk about some people can be barriers, to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you're saying, oh my gosh, I need to start a business, I need to take out a loan, and the
Mhm.
bank might be, but you already know what your credit score is.
You
You already know what that bank.
you know, this goes back to you, and
You
unless you're
know you.
honest with yourself,
You know
you
you.
know what it is that you need to work on. So if it's getting your credit in a place to where a bank is like, I don't mind giving you a $20,000 loan because I see that you're good with that. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of reflection and a lot of things that we have to work on. But also I want to say that as you're thinking about whatever goal that you're wanting to do, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking about myself,
Yeah.
some things I didn't realize I needed to do until I got to that point.
Yes. Mhm.
Google, YouTube University, AI is only going to be able to tell you so
Yeah.
much. But
Mhm.
as you're going through the process,
Mhm.
as you're moving, it's like, oh, when I was meeting with the client, she's like, okay, just make sure to send me an invoice. And I'm like, I have not created an invoice.
Voice.
Okay, I now need to create. Like I was literally building
Yeah.
as I was going.
Yes.
And as like I'm thinking about you, Valerie, with your goal, there's going to be other things that's going to come to Valerie of, yes, I need to sleep in my clothes the night before, but it's like, now what do I need to be doing in terms of feeding my body the day before I know
Mhm.
I'm going to have a run? Like it's all of these things build upon themselves, but it's just
Mhm.
starting with step one.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
then as you move, you begin
Mhm.
to learn and it's going to shape you. Whatever goal that you're trying to do, you're gonna realize like, oh, this doesn't feel good. I'm gonna have to make a change here because
Mhm.
like I can't keep doing that.
You can't. You can't. And I think, some young folks get to experience this a little bit younger in life. Some of us, it takes a little bit longer, but you begin to recognize, once you set these dreams and these intentions, things that really do not resonate, with you, like this really does not, the old folks will say this don't sit well with my spirit, or this
Mhm.
really doesn't align, with what it is that I want to do. And when you begin to feel that, you're like, okay, well, I know this is no longer serving me. What in its place can begin to, serve me a little bit better? But it goes back to this concept of being honest, with yourself, knowing that, okay, it might take some work, it might take some further education, it might take some further knowledge, and nothing is off the table, as I like to say. I was talking with one of my adolescents that I was working with, and she was talking about, she wants to run track, but she can't afford the spikes. And so she was like, well, maybe I just don't run track. And I was like, well, maybe you pause right there, right? You have a whole community around you. You have this goal of, yes, I want to run track, but I just can't afford, my parents can't afford, the cleats for me to go ahead, and the spikes and all the replacements that are going to come throughout the year. I was like, have you had a conversation with your coach yet? Who's a part of, the track team, see if they have like, school supply that you could possibly, use. Did you really break this down to your mom? Like, this is something I really want to do,
Mhm.
because moms, they will find a way, you know, moms have a way of having a network of, can I get $10 from you? Because she needs, can I get $10 from you? Because she needs, she was like, no, I just thought that, I didn't want to burden her with anything else. But this is your
Mm.
dream. And you think about who your community is. We're going to tap into all the folks in your community to say, how can we make this possible? And lo and behold, what did the coach say? He was like, yeah, we're doing a donation drive. We got some people that are in the
Oh.
community who are going to be donating some of their old ones, but they're also giving us cash donation because, some of the kids, they have really huge feet, nothing that's really, and I was like, problem solved. And I was like, problem solved. Do not limit yourself. When you think there is a barrier, this is when you tap into your community, tap into others to say, how can you help remove these barriers for me? And so I think about, another thing. So we think about those type of barriers where kids are, kids, and they just say that, I'm limited in what I can do. I really need the adults to come in and help me
Mhm.
support me. But I think about other barriers. I think about like systematic barriers, or barriers where you feel as if I'm really trying to get this promotion at my job, but there's really a vibe that's going on here. I don't know what exactly it is, but systematically, I wonder if I'm a woman. I wonder if it is, I present as a certain way. What? are these barriers because I've been really trying to really reach, this goal,
Mhm.
right? So once again, it's tapping into that community. It's tapping into whoever the higher ups are being like, this is my vision, this is my goal, and I'm really trying to get to this next level. What is it that I'm not seeing? Help me take the blinders off. What more
Mhm.
do I need to cultivate within myself to get me to this next level? And if those folks are not helpful, then it's really this dream of, does my dream have to exist in this space?
Exactly.
Does it really have to exist there's so much that I'm dreaming for myself, and I'm seeing as if there's a limitation of what it is can be offered here for me. Does my dream really have to exist in, this space? But I encourage people to let's take it all the way back to the beginning, Shamika. Begin with a dream. And if you have that dream solidified and you saying, okay, whatever it is that I want, that goal that I want, this habit that I want to say that I'm a part of, that is a part of me, who's, a part of, the character and the core of me. This is where it begins. We're going to start
Mhm.
calling ourselves by our new name. I am a clinician. I run a private practice. I'm a private practice. I'm entrepreneur because, girl, we entrepreneurs.
We are entrepreneurs.
We're entrepreneurs. For that person who says that, I'm the healthiest version of me. If it's saying, okay, I got this lab report back and it's like, oh my gosh, oh God, I hate it. Oh my gosh, LabCorp is brood. One, let's just
I
talk
get
about
so tired
them,
of all them numbers, and I'm just like,
all
oh,
the numbers, but then they got the nerve to be put like negative and poor and da. One client showed it to me, and I was like, if this is just not the most, she's like, it's a wake up call. But I was like, yeah, it's like seeing like the worst report card that you can see when
oh
we say like
no.
negative, and then they got the nerve to highlight the stuff in red. Like, don't let them print it out on a color printer when it comes out on red. Just so if you didn't know, like by reading it, that, oh my gosh. But it can be, a wake up call when you say that, okay, I see this and I just want to be the healthiest version,
Mhm.
of myself that I can possibly, be. It's tapping into community, tapping into your medical community, tapping into your family who's going to be a part of this journey, your friends who might be a part of, this journey, coming up with the baby steps and being honest with yourself as you're creating these baby steps about who am I? Where am I challenged? And how can I be supported in terms of making these things reality? Knowing that there's failure sometimes that comes with success is
Ooh, it's
always
gonna
a smooth
come.
road. It is not always this, and those are always like the better stories. I don't know. I like it when people be like, clients be like, Miss Valerie, okay, where's your tea? Because let me tell you what, let me tell you about the journey I had to go on to get here. I mean, just the journey of life sometimes. But these are the things that help shape us, they help mold us into the individuals that we want to be. So know that failure sometimes come with success, but we're going to pour some words and some affirmations into ourselves, and we're going to give ourselves some grace when that success happens. We're going to be aware that challenges will come. But there's also comes to this point too of, oh my gosh, how do we celebrate? You know,
Yes.
how do we celebrate the success? Shamika, I don't know if you've ever had a client before who was like, yeah, I graduated high school. What did you guys do to celebrate? Mm, I was like, what did you do to celebrate this momentous occasion? Like, this is huge. I know your story. I know everything that you had to do to get to this point. Do we not, why are we not, what is the, why don't we want to celebrate? What is putting a pause on saying let's celebrate this, even if let's just acknowledge it? If acknowledging it is just, all you can handle and you can tolerate, then let's acknowledge it. Let's just take a moment to talk about like, oh my
You're
god,
taking me back. I had an
you know
inmate that I worked so hard with
hmm
for him to get his GED. Like he would
hmm
have moments of just breaking down because,
hmm
as a therapist, you become their therapist, their mama, their daddy, their
hmm
teacher. You become everything.
hmm
Work with him forever, months and months and months.
hmm
This dude finally passed the GED, didn't say nothing to me. We're in group. And one of the guys was like, yeah, like Miss Reed, like he passed the GED. And I was like, what? And he standing there like trying to hold it. I was like, are you serious? Like I was
yeah.
so excited. But then like, how could you not be like
hmm
telling me and all this? But it's just like, sometimes
hmm
people don't get celebrated.
yes.
And
hmm
that's why they act the way that he did. That's the way your client reacts because
hmm
there is nobody there to say, oh my gosh, it's not about spending money to celebrate. It's not about any of that, but it's just like there's not somebody there to say, like, I am so happy
Happy.
for you. I
Mm-hmm.
am genuinely happy to
Mm-hmm.
see you
Yeah.
succeed. That's
Mm-hmm.
not everybody's story.
I know. And this is why I say let's tap into community, people that really want to make you, feel successful. Because I get it, everybody celebrates, in a different way. I'll have, I've had clients in the past who have told me restaurants they want to go to. And I was like, ma'am, I am not your partner. I work for a state program. This is our budget. This is our budget in terms of what it is that we want to do to celebrate you. But it was like, just the idea of saying, let's hold space for this moment because this, I wonder what is going to continue to help motivate you, to say, okay, what's the next thing? What is the next thing? What do I continue to keep striving
Mhm.
for? Because all this truly matters. We didn't just, sit here, spend all this time dreaming, coming up together with this this way and this list of this pathway forward for it just to be nothing. This is all about your expression of joy that you are
Mhm.
throwing out there that others have an opportunity to have some joy, into as well. So I'm going to encourage folks to dream. Spend some time dreaming. If you don't have that goal already outlined or defined, just to really spend some time dreaming as to what it is that I want to truly accomplish. And I got to break this down too as well. If we want to say, oh my gosh, we want to change careers and now we want to be a neuroscientist, it's asking ourselves these really tough questions, right? Which is great because I've had people say, yes, I want to do this whole career change. I'm going back to school and this is what it's going to be. Wonderful. Wonderful. Let's ask ourselves like those really honest questions. And these are the questions that come with, okay, yeah, I might not need to go ahead and do a career change, but maybe I need to volunteer in these spaces. Maybe I can
Mm.
pick up a part-time job in these spaces, or maybe I can really join a book club that is really centered, around, these spaces, too, as well. Maybe I just want to have more conversations, somebody, oh my gosh, this is a whole nother tangent. Somebody might have been listening to Terrence Howard and his little whole theory of whatever, how the universe works. And they're like, oh gosh, maybe we just need to spend some time reading some Neil deGrasse Tyson, some books on that, and saying, okay, how do I really fuel this interest? And it doesn't have to be oftentimes as drastic as what we
Mhm.
might think it needs to bring us that fulfillment and that wholeness that we are truly, trying to crave and truly trying to, grasp onto. But I encourage folks to dream.
Thank you, Valerie. And I hope that all that Valerie talked about, Dr. Valerie, is really helping you.
Yes.
And if you know somebody that could really benefit from this, particularly if you know, like, hey, they're trying to work on some goals, send
Mhm.
them this video
Yes.
because this
Mhm.
is for anything,
Mhm.
any goal, any habit.
Mhm.
We're all trying to move forward and move up.
Mhm.
And how are we going to do it?
Mhm.
One step at a time. So, again, thank you.
Mhm.
Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
You guys next time.